Okay, let's talk about one single day, Monday, April 27th, 2026. A day when the entire world of artificial intelligence that turned completely upside down. And it all happened in just 12 hours. So let's jump right in.
For years, this was pretty much the accepted truth, right? If you wanted to use the most powerful AI, you had to have deep pockets. It was a luxury good, a tool controlled by a few massive tech companies. That was just the way it was. But on this one particular Monday, that entire system just cracked. The old rules went out the window, and a totally new era kicked off.
And the speed of it all is just staggering. I mean, think about it. At 2 in the morning, documents for a game-changing AI model leak online. Just an hour and a half later, Google confirms it's making a huge defensive play. And by 5 a.m., before most people have even had coffee, a specific piece of computer hardware is sold out, everywhere. This wasn't a gradual shift, folks. This was an earthquake.
So, to really get why this was such a big deal, we have to rewind a little and look at the world before that day. A world that some people have called an era of computational colonialism.
What does that actually mean? Well, think of it like this. A tiny handful of companies in Silicon Valley held all the keys to the kingdom. They owned the hardware, they controlled the AI models, and they set the prices. If you wanted to build something with cutting-edge AI, you had to go through them and pay whatever toll they demanded. And then, the first crack appeared in that empire's foundation. A new AI model hit the scene, and it didn't just offer a better price. No, it completely shattered the entire market. I really want you to absorb this number. 50 times cheaper. Not 50% cheaper. 50 times cheaper than the best model out there, GPT-4o. This wasn't just an improvement. This was a whole new ballgame. So you're probably wondering, how on earth is that even possible? Well, the old way was built on super expensive, power-guzzling NVIDIA chips. But this new model, DeepSeek V4, it played by a different set of rules. It was built to run on more efficient Huawei chips, completely bypassing that costly NVIDIA bottleneck. And the tech behind it was brilliant. They used new tricks like multi-head latent attention, which just slashed memory needs, and something called dynamic routing, which meant the model was incredibly energy efficient. It was a total takedown of the old, slow, and expensive way of doing things. Now, this massive shockwave basically split the AI world in two. On one side, you had the old empire desperately building bigger walls, and on the other, you had this new, decentralized movement building its power from the ground up. And when I say the walls were big, I mean they were enormous. Google, working with Anthropic, threw $40 billion at the problem. This wasn't about creating a new product for you and me. This was pure defense. They were building what sources started calling a digital armor to protect their turf. And this armor has a name, Mythos. It's described as an immune-centric AI. Think of it less like a creative tool and more like a digital immune system for the internet. Its job? To guard critical stuff like power grids and banking systems, reacting to threats in less than 300 milliseconds. This thing is basically a weapon, a shield for a new kind of digital war. But here's the really interesting part. While Google was pouring billions into its high-tech fortress, a quiet grassroots revolution was brewing, and it wasn't driven by corporations. It was driven by regular people. You can literally see it in the market data. The AI hardware fear and greed index just skyrocketed to 88 out of 100. That's a clear signal of extreme greed. It meant that developers, creators, and AI pros were in a mad dash to buy their own personal hardware, a global frenzy. And what was everyone trying to get their hands on? Not some insanely expensive server rack, it was, surprisingly, the humble Mac Mini. The new M4 version specifically became what one source called personal AI gold. So, why the Mac Mini? Well, it came down to 3 really simple killer reasons. First, it was super cost-effective, giving you the power of a pricey GPU for way less money. Second, Apple's unified memory was just perfect for running these new AI models right on your desk. And third, and this is the big one, data privacy. You could run a top-tier AI completely offline, safe and sound, away from the prying eyes of any corporation. This was the birth of the AI home farm. All of this leads us to where we are now. The dust has settled a bit, and we're living in what you could call the age of digital independence. And a really key idea in this new age is something called creative sovereignty. What that means is that individual creators using free tools on their own computers now have the kind of creative firepower that used to be reserved for like major Hollywood studios. It's a massive power shift. You can see it right here. The old tech giants, they're still a slice of the pie for sure, but they're not the whole pie anymore. Power is now spread out between all of us, with our home farms, open source models, and this huge community of independent creators. But the old empire isn't just fading away. And this brings us to a pretty dark, unconfirmed rumor that's been swirling around Google's Mythos fortress. The question people are starting to ask is this thing really just for security, or is it for engineering the truth?
The fear is centered on a system supposedly called semantic shielding. The rumor is that this would let Google scan your private messages, we're talking your emails in Gmail, and just automatically suppress anything its AI doesn't like, all under the convenient excuse of security.
Which really brings us to a pretty clear conclusion from all these events. In this brand new world, trusting the giant centralized fortresses might not be the smartest move. The real takeaway seems to be this: seek digital independence. Because the game completely changed on April 27th, 2026. The tools for that independence, the cheap, powerful AI models and the affordable hardware, they're not some far-off dream anymore. They're here. They're in our hands. So the only question left is, what are you going to do with them?